pounds. They had to have the operation before they killed it. Fortunately, it was a natural process. Immediately, your dad flew off up into the sky, kept his head in the clouds. Your mum went down in the basement to do the laundry. But after a while, your dad really started to miss your mum. He started crying, these great big drops dripping on the basement door, till your mum popped her head out to see what all the piece of puzzle was about. And your dad looked so sad. And your mum looked so sweet in a freshly washed blouse and skirt. He asked her if she'd like to come out and play. And she did. And they rolled around in the mud for a while. Then they started making these little clay figures to amuse themselves before cigarettes and HBO on demand. But eventually they started arguing again, and the sparks started flying and set light to these little clay figures, but they didn't burn up, they came to life, and they started wandering around willy-nilly, and they looked so silly. They made your mum and dad laugh. They became friends again, gave each other a big hug, and said, okay, your dad can stay up in the clouds, your mum will stay down in the basement, and they'll get together on the weekends to roll around in the mud. If your dad got lucky, hey, can I bring you laundry? And they keep tabs. They keep tabs on these little clay figures who looked like they needed all the help and the guidance they could get. And this became their relationship, for better or worse, till death did them part. It must be better than bloody chaos. That was a piece. Hey, the planet Earth's been around for a long time. Nature's been alive in it for a long time, a lot longer than human beings, and just been here since last Christmas in the relative scheme of things. But since last Christmas, we've reshaped and reconstituted nature more than all the other species put together using our intellect, our God's-given intellect. I mean, our instinct tells us, hey, we're born, we live as best we can, then we die at the mercy of forces beyond our understanding. But our intellect tells us, no, we can understand these forces. Our will tells us we must understand these forces, and our imagination tells us, hey, we could use these forces to be more than what we are. We can be more than natural, we can be supernatural. We can fly off into space where life is obviously a lot more meaningful and significant and fascinating amongst the stars. Let's have a quick survey. How many people here believe they belong on the planet Earth? How many people believe that the Earth is their home? They're simply part of nature. How many people believe they belong on another planet? How many people believe they come from another planet? How many people believe they belong on television? How many people believe that what they know is more than what they don't know? How many people believe they can't possibly know this? Have you never had one of them flashes of brilliance? One of them lightning surges of mental acuity, charge so electric you feel like you're in touch with the mystery of the universe. You're ready to open up the world to its own secret. You got your finger on the pulse of life. You can either blow it to fucking pieces or turn it into a mini-series to entertain you on the way to life. Have you never had one of these moments? Obviously, Dr. Frankenstein did. And thereby hangs a tragically monstrous tale for all ages, genius biting his own fucking ass off. This guy stitches together some poor sod from the defunctions of 27 different wombs, sparks him into life and sets him loose into a world not yet ready to face up to the nuts and bolts of existence. He doesn't know if he's coming or going, or if he's already been where he just went. And why nobody seems to want to get to know him for what he really is. What is he really? He's a fucking freak. He's a freak, not even of nature, born of the brain of some overeducated pyromaniac megalomaniac who's now decided he's made a mistake. Oh, I'm sorry, some child made a mistake. Wants to shove him back into the test tube till he gets a firmer handle on plastic surgery. But the monster is already loose in polite society. which impolitely hounds him off into the forest and up to the North Pole in search of Santa. But Santa went down with the Titanic, took all his elves with him. All that's left up there now, tilting the earth of its magnetic axis, is this freakish manifestation of humanity's will to re-originate itself, a frozen trope of imagination and intelligence spinning out of fucking control. I will have no more to do with man! And women don't like me at all. It's no wonder he wants to rip everybody's fucking heart. I'm the only one that was a cup of tea and a Ritzy Cafe. Which all goes to demonstrate, allegorically, that what is possible is not necessarily advisable. I mean, we could blow up the whole fucking planet if it's possible. Let's have a quick survey. How many people think we should blow up the whole fucking planet? It's the only way to put an end to war and suffering and maybe some of us can escape like Superman, man. Fly off to another planet, spend the rest of our lives trying to save a world that we know in our hearts we don't really belong in. That's the essence of compassion. This guy is very, very sick. Young guy, 30 years old. Gets very sick, he's got this disease, incurable disease, there's no cure for it. There's not even any medication to ease the pain. He doesn't know if he's going to die from one minute to the next. He just lies on his bed staring up at these patterns of lights on the ceiling. It's like the whole of life shadow playing itself out on his ceiling. But it never goes totally black even when he's asleep. His dreams kick in and there always seems to be a little bit of sunshine between the cracks. And he never has any nightmares. It's like his disease has exhausted all his nightmares. Anyway, every Wednesday, the nurse visits, the visiting nurse. She visits to plump his pillows, change his sheets, and empty his bedpan extra large for a weekly fill. Make him as comfortable as it's possible to be, which is the best anybody can do. She tells him that's the best anybody can do. And this is the only time he feels ashamed of himself. He feels so terribly ashamed of himself. And one day he tells her, I feel so terribly ashamed of myself. And she looks at him through these clinically refulgent eyes. Tells him he's thinking too much. You're thinking too much. You have to try not to think too much. He taps him pointedly on the front. Suddenly, he rises up from his bed. His blood's boiling over. And he grabs her by the throat and starts strangling her. And she's so shocked by the time she realizes he's not going to let go. She's already dead. Her body's turned into a limp, lifeless latex dish rag. And her eyeballs are popped out of her head. He watches these eyeballs rolling around on the floor. Until finally they come to rest next to the unempty bed. And they're gazing up at him with such unprecedented disbelief. And at this point, he knows he's not going to die. He's going to live. And he wants to live. He pulls her body up onto the bed and he starts taking off a nurse's uniform because he figures it'd be less conspicuous dressed like this than parading around the streets in his pajamas. And he goes off to the nearest police station to confess his crime and accept his punishment. He tells the desk sergeant, well, I must be mad. I'm not sick anymore, but I must be mad. I just strangled this woman to death for no particular reason. Well, the desk sergeant's eyeing him up and down like he's some deranged transvestite general hospital fellow. But when they go back to the apartment and they find that limp, lifeless latex dish rag, and then their eyeballs next to this big pan of shit, they slap him the leg out, slap him in handcuffs, throw him in jail, lock away the key. 99 years to life he gets without possibility of parole. But he's never felt healthier in his life. He just lies on his cot, staring up at these patterns of light on the ceiling. It's like the whole of life shadow playing itself out on the ceiling of his cell. Only now, occasionally it goes totally black. Everything goes black and he starts having this recurring nightmare. A one-legged midget in camouflage and ballet slipper keeps leaping painfully out of his arsehole and sexually tormenting him with a week-old French baguette. And he decides to write a book about his experience, even though he knows nobody's going to read it. And nobody does really. When he finally dies and they come into his cell in their rubber gloves to clear his body out, they find his 3,000-line manuscripted toilet roll, tentatively entitled A Rare Achievement, on the road and off the fucking map. Of course, they toss it into the trash, along with his toothbrush and spare underwear. Whether it was coincidence, random chance, divine providence, or merely cause and effect, no sooner had his opening lines gone up in flames than this North Korean nuclear missile lands on New York. The whole city vanished off the face of the earth. And the life's work of them deranged, if perfectly healthy homicidal maniacs seemed like small potatoes in the light of planetary